Hey, it's Steve Jolly with the Home Buying Skills channel, and on today's show we're going to talk about home buying negotiation skills and how to win multiple offer situations. You ready to get started? Let's get to business. Now, first thing I want to talk about is setting a plan to be successful, and that is starting early in the process. Starting early in the process and knowing exactly what you want to buy. And you want to start with the first three things, which are price, condition, and location. If you know what price you want to buy, you know the condition of the home you're comfortable with, and you know what location you want to be in, whether it's narrowed down to a city or even further down into a community or neighborhood, the more that you can narrow that down, the better that you're going to be, because you'll be able to focus in on an area and really look for the opportunities that are coming up in that area. So location, condition, price are the first three things that you need to focus on. Beyond that, you're going to think of a list of things that you want to have in your home or that you can't live with. So you also want to come up with a list of must-haves. These are the things I have to have. I need at least 3 bedrooms. I need a minimum of 2 bathrooms. I need a minimum of a half an acre lot. So those are the types of things that you must have in your home. That helps us further narrow it down to really focus on the best homes for you. And the last thing would be deal killers. This is something I don't want. Like, I don't want a home without a basement, or I don't want a home that doesn't have brick. So those are deal killers. Now that's going to kind of limit the homes that are out there, but if we can limit those on the front end, it'll save us time on the back end. So number 2 thing I want to talk about today is hiring the right agent. You might not think that's part of the negotiation, but your agent's going to do most of the negotiating for you. So you have to have the right person in place. And the most important thing of all, to me anyhow, is that person has to be trusted. You have to trust that person because they're negotiating on your behalf. And if you don't trust them, you probably shouldn't work with them. Also, your agent should be experienced in the area that you're looking for and the type of home that you want to buy. If they're not experienced in that area that you want to buy or the type of home, you might want to consider finding a different agent, because the right agent is going to have all that information. They're going to be able to answer all those questions that you have in your mind. So focus on getting the right person to do the job. Third thing I want to talk about is speed. Moving quickly is so important in this market. That first offer is so important because serious buyers will offer more quickly. So if you're looking for a serious buyer, one that you know that can get to the closing table, one that's not going to force you to sell your property twice, a serious buyer is what you're looking for when it comes to selling your home. Another thing about moving quickly is you've got to get to that showing quickly too. You've got to see the home as soon as it comes on the market. And if you don't see the home and you just write an offer, sellers look at that too. They're going to want to know that you visited the home. They don't want somebody that's not going to walk through their home to write an offer, and then when they get to the home and they see it, a lot of times those buyers will decide that they don't like that home and they'll use a contingency to get out of the contract. That's not what we want to do. We want to let the seller know that you're interested enough in the home, that you visited the home, you saw the home, and you wrote an offer on it right away. That says a lot about how serious you are as a buyer. Another thing I think is so important in negotiations that a lot of people don't consider is being polite and considerate during and throughout the whole process, especially when visiting somebody else's home. Now, guys, realize that security cameras, Ring doorbells are more common today than they've ever been. And while sellers aren't supposed to listen to what you say as you're walking through the home, I guarantee they're watching you walk through that front door. And if they have cameras throughout the house, they're watching what you do inside their home. And if you're doing things that are disrespectful or not responsible, they're going to look at that and they're going to consider that when they look at your offer. So be respectful, be polite throughout that whole process. That'll help the sellers trust you more and trust that you're going to make to the finish line. Because if they can't trust you with a showing, how do they know that they can trust you getting all the way to the closing table? Number 5, when you're at showings, look for opportunities to help. You know what skill sets you have and what connections you have and what you can do to help other people. And if you see an opportunity to help a seller along the way, use that as part of your offer to convince them that you are the right person to deal with. You're the right person to sell the home to. Having the ability to solve problems for the seller is worth money to them. Use that to your advantage. And also when you're visiting the home, take extra pictures, especially of areas that weren't in the online advertised photos. And then also take notes throughout the process. Take a look at all the major systems and appliances and know how old they are and what condition they're in so that you can refer back to them when you go to write the offer, because you're not going to get everything you want. And some of the things you're probably going to have to fix, repair, or replace in the near future. You don't want to go blindly into this not knowing what those are. So take note, and that way you can write the best offer and you can prepare yourself the best that you can for home ownership in those first few years. Number 7 is so important too, and that's know your competition. So one of the things you're going to have to do, ask your agent to do, is to reach out to the seller and find out how many offers they have. How many showings did this home get? And there's ways that you can look that information up. Now you're going to have to take the word from the listing agent of how many offers they had, but that's okay because we know in this market, most homes are getting 10 to 20 offers for every home. And that's a lot. There's that many buyers out there looking for homes right now. Another thing to know your competition is you need to have your agent analyze the data, find out based on the recent closed sales in that area, what is working for buyers? What terms did they use? Ask them to pick up the phone and call those agents or call agents that have homes under contract. Glean as much information you can about the competition before you write an offer. So if you know the area that you want to be in, you can do some of that ahead of time so that when it comes time to write an offer, you can do it quickly and with a lot of confidence. Now, number 8, just know that you're not going to get everything that you want out of a home. You're probably going to get 80% of what you want if you're lucky. 10% of those things you're probably going to have to live with. It's not going to be perfect. And there may be 10% of things that you're going to have to repair, replace, or upgrade in the near future. Just keep that in mind. You're not going to get everything you want, so you're going to have to adjust your expectations a little bit in order to be successful. But if you don't let that weigh you down, if you don't let that frustrate you, you'll be better off in the long run with the house you want. Even though it's not perfect, it's perfect enough for you and your family to really enjoy living there and to really have a good life in the home. Now, it's never going to be perfect, so just realize that and keep that in your expectations as you're looking for homes. Don't let that frustrate you. Now, when it comes to writing an offer, clean and simple is best. And what do we mean by a clean and simple offer? Well, a clean offer has the least amount of contingencies as possible. And there's all different kinds of contingencies that you can write into an offer. And what a contingency does is it lets a buyer back out of the offer and get their earnest money back, which means to the seller that they're going to have to put that home back on the market in order to sell it. So you want to limit the number of contingencies that you can. The most common ones are you're going to have, if you have financing, you're going to have a finance contingency. If you have finance, you're probably going to have an appraisal contingency because it's going to be required to have an appraisal on your home, more than likely. You could also have an inspection contingency. You could have a sale of home contingency if you're not a first-time home buyer. So the less contingencies that you have, the cleaner that your offer is. Now, here's what I mean by simple. A lot of people will write language into the offer that explains what they really want, but truly it's all about the buyer and it's not really with the seller in mind. So what you want to do there is if you write any additional language into the contract, keep it simple. Confusing language will make people stop in their tracks. And if they don't understand something, most people won't move forward if there's something that they don't understand, they don't know the answers to, they'll stop dead in their tracks. And that's the last thing you want them to do with your offer. So keep it clean, keep the language simple, and you'll have better success with getting your offer accepted. And the very last thing, and it's probably the most important in a market like this, is really know your customer. In this case, that's the seller. Know who they are, know what they want. So that's also going to take your agent reaching out to the listing agent and asking them a couple of questions. Things like, what is a seller really looking for in an offer? What would be a perfect offer for them? And get as close to that as possible. Another question to ask the listing agent is, what can I do to make it as easy as possible for the seller? What is something that you know that's bothering them, a problem that they have, a pain that they have, that I could solve and make things easier for the seller? If you have your agent ask those questions, you'll get some answers, and that will give you a step ahead amongst everybody else that's writing an offer on that property. Now, I've just given you a list of 10 different items, things that you can do is part of the negotiation process that most people don't consider. All these things will help make your offer more irresistible to the seller, so that they see you as the best person to partner with in selling their home.